A master of arts named Andrei Kavrin has strained his nerves and been advised to take a vacation by his doctor. After spending 3 weeks on his own estate, Kavrin decides to visit his former guardian Yegor Pisotsky, a renowned horticulturist. When he arrives at Pisotsky's home, Kavrin finds the old man and his daughter Tanya worried about a coming frost. Kavrin sits up all night with Tanya to watch over the plants and learns how much Yegor values his orchard. Over the course of the summer, the two young people grow close, and Kavrin describes his physical state of happiness as if every vein in his body was quivering and fluttering with pleasure. Kavrin is restless and does not sleep much, but he talks a great deal and drinks a lot of wine. One evening, he clasps Tanya's arm and tells her of a legend that has been preoccupying him. It is about a monk dressed in black, who wandered in the desert 1,000 years ago and set off a series of mirages so that it seemed as if his image was seen working in different countries all over the world. The crux of the legend is that 1,000 years after the day the monk walked, his mirage will return to earth and reappear to men. After saying this, Kavrin leaves to walk by himself in the garden and catches sight of a tall black column like a whirlwind racing towards him. As it approaches, he realizes that it is the monk. Although the apparition does not say anything, Kavrin is faintly perturbed by the man's pale face and sly smile. Upon returning to the house, Yegor and Tanya remark how radiant and inspired Kavrin looks, although Kavrin decides not to tell them what he has seen. After supper, old Yegor comes to Kavrin's room and gently encourages him to marry his daughter. Pisotsky explains his great love for the business, and particularly for the orchard, which he insists will go to ruin if anyone other than Kavrin weds Tanya. The next day, Kavrin mediates a quarrel between Pisotsky and Tanya, and again Kavrin sees the black monk in the garden. The monk tells Kavrin that he is one of God's elect and warns him that the accompanying traits of exaltation, enthusiasm, ecstasy will not ensure his physical health. When Kavrin asks the monk whether he is mad and if this is an illusion, the apparition replies that he is not and that it is real. Kavrin is now assured of his own loftiness and decides to marry Tanya. He meets the monk several times a week while walking around Pisotsky's estate. Pisotsky arranges a lavish wedding for the young couple. The action switches to Kavrin's townhouse, where he is reading in bed. Tanya awakes to find her husband talking to the monk and concludes that he is mentally ill. Kavrin is treated for megalomania and once again returns to spend the summer with Pisotsky. Unfortunately, the protagonist treats the old man with disrespect and rudeness, and Tanya realizes that there is something ugly and unpleasant in her husband's face that was not there before. Kavrin accepts a professorship at the university but cannot deliver his first lecture because he is too sick. He is now living with a woman other than Tanya and is coughing blood due to a hemorrhage in his throat. While visiting the town of Yalta, the protagonist receives a letter from Tanya blaming him for her father's death, which has resulted in the orchard's destruction. The protagonist remembers how spiteful he was to Yegor and Tanya, and Kavrin experiences an emotion akin to terror. While he's thinking on the past, Kavrin hears the sound of violins playing and feels a thrill of sweet, exquisite delight wash over him. The monk appears and berets Kavrin for thinking that he was deranged and not believing that he was a genius. Kavrin starts to hemorrhage heavily from his throat and dies calling Tanya's name, while the monk whispers to him that his body can no longer serve as the mortal garb of genius. The Black Monk was written in the summer of 1893 and published in January 1894. It thus predates many of Chekhov's later tales dealing with nerves and mental health, such as On Official Duty. However, as opposed to the later story where the central character's nerves are symptomatic of his troubled conscience and social aspirations, this tale introduces a protagonist who thinks madness validates his own genius. In this tale, Donald Rayfield notes that Chekhov deals with insanity as inspiration and that he subtly combines the symptoms of mental derangement with those of physical illness. It is difficult for readers to determine if Kavrin is killed by tuberculosis or destroyed by his own lunacy.